Rudy, the third to last 3 p.m. show. On Friday, this is going to all change, and it's going to reemerge on Monday as a wonderful 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. show. You can pick the one you want it to be because they can be slightly different. One is going to be on Frank's TV and numerous other affiliates that they go to. And then the second one will be your America's Mayor Live, which will be on X and everything that you have out there right now. So we'll get 2 hours, which is in a row, which is something I've been aiming for over a year now, because I think it gives us a chance to cover everything we have to cover. See, my objective, there's a lot of things I don't cover, obviously. We could be on for 5 hours. I cover the things that I think you're not going to get from the fascist media that we have. And I have no compunction using the word fascist. I go so far as to say Soviet media that we have, because they leave things out, they lie, they cheat, they fact check the way fact checking was done in Orwell's 1984. The truth becomes a lie and a lie becomes the truth. Today, for example, we'll have to deal with the ridiculous thing that makes you want to puke, which is that Biden says he's restored national sovereignty. First of all, this is after letting about 12 million people in illegally. And this notion of restoring national sovereignty is to let more people in here illegally than have ever been let in by any other president ever in the history of the country in any 1 year. That includes Trump, his opponent. It includes his puppet master, Obama, the guy, the guy who pulls the strings behind the scene. It includes Bush, who had troubles at the border, but was good at it because he was a Texas governor. During Clinton, the border I think was a little calmer. I don't know. And of course, during Reagan, I was in charge of it for the longest time, and we were really more involved in Florida and the Marielitos and the Haitians than the southern border, which was, of course, it was a different works. See, when you open the border and you make it completely illegal, who do you draw? The worst people. Well, in any event, today is a bittersweet day for me, both bitter and sweet, because my good friend and former client, Willie Mays, passed away. As I say, he went to the really important Hall of Fame, where he will be a very important member, because beyond everything else, and I know this from having been his friend, he's a very good man, has always been a very good man. Now, as a baseball player, wow. One of the top 3, top 5. You can't deny me top 5. Was he, suppose I asked a question. So, Babe Ruth, great home run hitter, right? Ted Williams, great natural hitter. DiMaggio, great two-way player. Maybe not quite the offense of Ted Williams, but much better defense, and many more championships. Who do you want? Lou Gehrig, who some people think was better than Ruth. You look at the numbers, you can make an argument. Want to put Willie in there? I'd put Willie in there. I'd put Willie in there because he did everything at a superstar level. Hit for power, bunt, fastest man in the league for a while, which meant he stole bases. He was a terror on the base paths. He knew how to use his speed to catch anything hit within 100 miles of him. And he had an arm that was a rocket. Wow. And he was a team player. Never a problem on the team, as Leo DeRosa named him the Say Hey Kid, which I don't think Willie really liked, in latter years at least. So we're going to go into Willie's career in more detail tonight, and I'm going to tell you some stories that only I know from the a year or so that I represented him, particularly when we were going back and forth to Atlantic City for trial every day. And I agreed to lower my fee, and if he would tell me baseball stories. And I'd relax him because he had to testify. I relaxed him by him telling me all kinds of stories, and some of which are big surprises for me, at least. So, and I think they will be for you. But let's take a look at this is let me 4. At 53, one team alone won the World Series every year for 5 years. That's half a decade. The greatest team maybe, I would say, although the name, the 27 team, are bigger, this accomplishment, I don't think it'll ever be matched. 5 World Series in a row. Not quite Ruth and Gehrig, but DiMaggio maybe can substitute for that. How about in the last couple of years, Yogi Berra, Hall of Famer, Ali Reynolds, Hall of Fame pitcher. I mean, we can, and then slightly below Hall of Fame players. My goodness, they beat the best players in the league today that the Yankees had. They had pitching galore. The Springfield Rifle, Vic Raschi, so fast you couldn't see him. I mean, the first relief pitcher ever. So they won 5 in a row. They beat the Giants. They beat the Giants in 52, 4 games to 2. It was a 1. Willie and Mickey Mantle's first. So let's get the passing of the guard, right, in that one. And the Yankees won it 4-2. This was now a World Series between the Cleveland Indians, who miraculously beat the Yankees by winning something like 112 games. The Yankees had their most wins in the 1954 season, but didn't win the pennant. The Cleveland Indians, with a great pitching staff, won. The Giants squeaked in, and the Indians were favored by everyone to win it. This was the first game. Maybe it set the tone for the whole World Series. The score was tied 2-2. They were in Upper Manhattan in a place called the Polo Grounds, which was 1 mile from Yankee Stadium across the river, but in Manhattan. And Vic Wertz, who was their best power hitter, with 2 men on, score tied 2-2. 8th inning, hits a drive that ends up being measured at somewhere around 420 to 430 feet. It had been no to get it. Show the catch. They don't show how quickly and they couldn't move up a base. And therefore, they didn't score in that inning. It stayed 2-2, and the Giants won in extra innings. And then the Giants went on and won the next 3 games in a row, and they swept the World Series. This is the greatest catch ever. Whether there are better catches, you want to fight with me over it? This is called the catch. So let's watch the catch by possibly, in my view, the greatest center fielder ever. In his view, there was somebody better. And I'll tell you that tonight. I'll tell you now.
Must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people. And Willie Mays gave this crowd of 52,751 an unforgettable sight. Wertz pounds the next pitch over Willie Mays' head, but there goes Willie. And he makes a miraculous catch as he stops a step short of the wall.
Again, great call. That was Jack Brickhouse calling the game for NBC television with Russ Hodges, who did point out, because he was the regular Giant announcer during the year, that Willie's been doing this all year. To the rest of America, this was the introduction of the Say Hey Kid. But to New Yorkers, we knew him since 51 when he came up for the World Series, and then 52, 53. When you hit the ball to center field, unless you put it out, he was going to catch it. I mean, I don't remember him never not catching something at the center field. It was a combination of his extraordinary speed, which as a young man was unbelievable. I mean, a lot of guys can have great speed running the bases, but they don't have that ability to shift and change and pivot. And also he had, what the great center fielders all have, which is an instinct to break to the ball. Now, Willie had occasional, as a younger man, mistakes in break, but he could make it up with his great speed, but very few mistakes in breaks. In the bottom of the 10th, the Giants won the game, and then they went on to win the World Series. I think this was his also, but didn't have the national attention that this did. And as he always felt cheated by the fact that nobody pointed out how he held the men at on base, because had he not done that, they would have scored. So we are going through how do we describe illegal alien crime epidemic? The Biden illegal crime epidemic. These are people encouraged and allowed into the United States by a president who completely disregards his oath of office and treats security of his fellow citizens as if it's a joke. Although he's got himself perfectly secured, him and his drug addict son and the other miscreants in his family. So we're gonna focus on that, because the Democrats do a lot of all the people work ultimately in your hospitals. Give us your people, because that's who we're getting. And why wouldn't that make sense when the cartels decide who comes in? The NGOs, like Catholic Charities, are disgusting in the way they just become a pawn for this and give it a certain patina of. But I mean, they're processing murderers and rapists and child molesters and into our country. I don't know. I don't think Jesus wanted that. Well, we'll be right back, and we'll take a look at this horrible, horrible new crime problem that we have in this country that's not going away like that. We're talking about a state that's been created, the state of Joe Biden's illegal aliens. We'll be right back.
We're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50%, and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
And welcome back.
Well, right in the middle of this presidential campaign, where there is a clear distinction between the two candidates for all of the lying of the Biden people, which, I mean, there's so much of it, you got to cut your way through it. There's no doubt, I mean, it's almost easy to point out that he is in favor of an open border. Even his plan is in favor of an open border, which we'll point out to you. And Trump is in favor of deporting them. When Trump first said a few months ago, deport them, the Democrats were so happy. Because if 5 or 6 years ago you said deport them, when Trump first said that, it was like xenophobic, racist, and I don't know what other names they use. They'll come up with new ones that they don't understand because they're very poorly educated. But now, do you know that 53% of Hispanics support mass deportation? Almost 70% of the American people support mass deportation. It's not just stop them now. It's throw them out. Because stopping them is not going to reduce the crime. We've already have a critical mass of 12 million people, and it's impossible to know what percentage are criminals, except to know it's a high percentage. Because whenever work is offered, no one takes it. They don't seem to have any skills of any kind. None of them express any particularized reason for coming here. I want to be a carpenter. I want to be a bricklayer. I want to be this. I want to help in the fields. And they're all young men of military age, and many of them look like either terrorists or spies. And the others look like out-and-out bums, let out of the prisons. I'm going to give you a look right now at one of them who was arrested 2 days ago. His name is Christian Giuliani Inga. He is only 25 years old. He committed a lot of crimes. From not Queens, and there's no question that he had to have had a criminal record in Ecuador. He entered the U.S. with a 3-year-old that he claimed to be his son. Now, one never knows if these are true or not, but if you have the child, you excite the stupid liberals' emotions and hormones, and reason leaves, and their duty to protect you flies away in light of wanting to feel virtuous. Probably they want to feel virtuous because they're guilty for things. So they displace it with this kind of stupidity. So they see the child, they see this guy. Are you showing him? Yeah. I mean, would you let this guy in? I wouldn't let him in. I mean, he's a young guy. He has no skills. He has no desire for a job. He doesn't fit into any pattern of he wants to be a waiter. He has been a waiter. He wants to go work in the fields in California. He fits in no pattern other than out of an excess of caution in a country that is so damn crowded with these people, you throw him out. Well, he brought the kid, and the kid overwhelmed, I guess the hormones went crazy on the Border Patrol person, and they took him into custody originally, and he told them, I don't even know if he applied for asylum. He told them that he wanted to come in to take care of the kid. Despite that, an immigration judge ordered him to leave the country, and he did. He took the order, said, "Screw you." took the kid and headed up to Queens. The kid is obviously in some kind of strange situation because he hasn't, in the period of time he's been in Queens. I'm not saying he hasn't committed crimes. Usually, please understand this: when you get criminals like this, you catch them. Maybe a good number be 1 out of 10. So let's say he's a purse snatcher. You get him. You're not going to, that purse snatcher you're probably not going to get for another 20 or 30. But let's say he's a rapist. Well, he'll do a rape and you'll be lucky to catch him. And then he'll do a group more and, finally you'll get him. But there always will be exceptions, of course. There are always going to be, in fact, there are people who believe already some person rapist and they're coming up with rapes that haven't been solved. Now, that's probably going to be hidden as much as possible. So we'll have to go digging for it. But it's a good name. You're not going to forget the name Inga. It's a strange name, Giuliani. And he doesn't spell it the Italian way. He spells it Geovanny. Strange spelling of Giovanni. Not Spanish either. But he is from Ecuador. And he did have brushes with the law, but no arrest. He had a fare evasion when he was shortly here. Now, when I did fare evasions, I fingerprinted and photographed all of them. Boom. We stopped a serial murder that way. Myself and I don't know if the commissioner then was Howard or Bill Bratton, but it was very, very famous. Had we not done the arrest for fare evasion, we wouldn't have had the fingerprint. We'd not have picked up the fingerprint on the second woman, and there would have been a third, a fourth, a fifth, and a sixth woman. And I'm sure, had they taken that fingerprint, they'd have caught him faster, because there had to be fingerprints on the two 13-year-old kids, because he manhandled them. We did it with every single, was considered to be one of the reasons why crime went down so much. Adams claims he's going to do it, but it's like a lot of things Adams claims. He doesn't do it. Then he was given a trespassing ticket. Don't know what it was about. Could have been minor, could have been serious. You never know, because they let him go even if it was serious. Then in January, there was a custody dispute, an argument between him and a woman in Flushing over kids, some kids. Like who do they belong to? This one sounds like one you should have ignored, because if you're fighting over kids, there's always a chance somebody's going to abuse those kids. But why should New York do that? We have we got to, the mayor's got to spend time getting ready to go to the clubs at night, and he doesn't want to be bothered with figuring out a way to protect these kids, which I would have stayed up all night trying to figure out, and any good man would have. And then it culminated in a 911 call Tuesday at about 1 a.m. from community members saying that they had him. They found him. They had put out a picture of him. They had gotten some kind of a composite of him, and one Good Samaritan recognized him as a guy that went to Delhi all the time. His name was Jeffrey Flores, and Jeffrey waited all day for him to show up at the deli. And when he showed up, with the help of several other people, they restrained him. And during the course of that, he made the mistake of trying to escape. And in the process, they gave him a pretty damn good beat in order to restrain him. I do hope that the DA doesn't become a brag here and prosecute them for something. I don't think so. The DA in Queens, although has had a few strange ones, generally has exercised more common sense than the Soros paid for pro criminals. So So that's his story, and it's a story of
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're gonna go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
We're back.
I did neglect to tell you how this crime happened. It was last Tuesday. The two 13-year-olds, a boy and a girl, were returning from school, passing through Casino Park. It's the nicest in the city. Big. It's a big park. And he approached them with a machete-type knife, which he used to force them into the bushes, the small forest that's there. He then tied their hands, boy and girl, and proceeded to hurt the boy and bang him around a little. And then he raped the young lady. And then he left. Would you say that fits the description of Donald Trump in 2015 when he announced for president of the United States and was castigated for calling these people animals? I would say Trump was being kind when he said that. And he was talking about exactly what was starting then, and that was the gang from I guess they were from Guatemala, and they were chopping people's heads off. That's okay. You can do that. Liberals don't mind. Now, it does say in one of the articles that he had an arrest in Texas, but I haven't been able to find out exactly what that arrest was. They may be referring to the immigration arrest where he was. They tell him to leave, and they expect him to leave, and he walks out and goes to Queens. Where does that come from? Is that Mayorkas? Is that Biden? Is that the Border Patrol having their hands tied by a president who's a lawbreaker? And what is this all about? Why would you sacrifice the lives of Americans to let these bums in? Well, obviously for politics and also for Marxism, to destroy American sovereignty. So this is, of course, within days of the horrible arrest. This crime goes back a bit to. Let's get the exact date. August 5, 2023. Rachel Morin. Want to show Rachel? There's one picture of her.
I got one on here.
Oh, that's Rachel Morin. Here's another picture of Rachel, a little bit younger, I guess. But there's Rachel right there. Rachel Morin is a mother of 5. She's 37 years old, or was 37 years old. She went for a walk at the Ma and Pa Heritage Trail, which is, as far as I can tell, safe. And it was around 6 p.m., and she never returned. Around midnight, or a little before midnight, her boyfriend called and alerted everyone to the fact that she was missing. And then they began a search, and they found her body. They found her body the next day at about 1 p.m. in a culvert at the Ma and Pa Heritage Trail. She had been beaten pretty badly, raped, and left dead. They did pick up, within a week or two, they picked up DNA from that. And they were able pretty quickly to trace it to a home invasion in L.A. that occurred back on March 26, 2023. So that was, a few months earlier in the year. Now, that occurred just a few days after he illegally entered the United States for the fourth time. For the fourth time. Biden, go to hell. Just go straight to hell. 4 times. That's because the border is wide open. Mayorkas, join them. This doesn't happen under Trump. This doesn't happen under even Obama. This only happens because we've got a guy that is committed to a completely open border. He goes to the Democrat convention in 2020 and says that everyone should rush to the border. Why did you vote for him? What are you, crazy? Or brainwashed? You voted for somebody that's going to let anybody in that wants to come in? Well, who the hell do you think is going to come in? The people that kill Rachel Marin. The people that rape 13-year-old girls. You don't think he knows that? He wasn't demented then. He knew it. Marxism tells him to do it. The Democrat Party, desperately needing votes, tells him to do it. He don't give a damn about you, and he never has. I mean, garbage. The guy's been a criminal. He's taken for 30 years. It's right in black and white. I didn't think he was this bad, though. And this is the guy they let in. This is the murderer. Now, he was back and forth 5 times, back and forth across the border. Now, how do you do that? How do you do that? How do you let him back and forth across the border that many times? Unless you have an open border, don't enforce the law administration, which is what we have, that results in needless death and sexual assault of Americans and children. And we're going to stand for this? We're going to stand for this because of this party of slavery that wants to keep power? It's even ridiculous that they're celebrating Juneteenth Day. You go back to Juneteenth, it was a Democratic Party that supported slavery. I don't know if we would have had slavery that long if we didn't have the Democratic Party. We sure as hell wouldn't have had Jim Crow and segregation and all the other problems if we didn't have the decrepit Democratic Party. Corrupt in major cities, Ku Klux Klan in the suburbs and country, and a president now who's so damn old that he eulogized head of the Ku Klux Klan. And they're trying to say that Trump is a racist when all his life he's been in business and dealt with black people the same way. It's obvious, the same way as he dealt with white people. He never said, I don't want to send my kids to the jungle. He never passed a bill that put minor black criminals in jail forever. I would recommend to all blacks considering voting, remembering the words of Malcolm X, because once they incorporate these words and once they act on them, it all ends. The biggest enemy of the black people are white liberals. Malcolm X, not Ronald Reagan, not Rudy Giuliani, not Donald Trump. Malcolm X. The biggest enemy of the black people are the white liberals. Boy, is that true today. We'll be right back. Delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now. We are and beginning, Biden's announcement back on, was it June 4, that he was going to crack down on them, going to crack down on the border. Just made a speech yesterday saying he was going to restore national sovereignty. Well, I mean, he's the one who cracked it. He's the one who destroyed it. Somehow he finds a way to blame all these people coming in on Trump. I cannot figure it out. The last year that Trump was in office, 400,000 people came in. Last year, 3.2 million came in. Just based on the people arrested, it's more like about 6 million came in. And by the way, that 400,000, Trump returned about 40%. He returned about 10. So the net on his 3.5 million is a whole new state. The conservative estimate of how many people he let in, conservative estimate, would be about 8 or 9 million. The actual one is about 12 million, of which an untold number are violent criminals. Because early on, people like Maduro, who is a communist dictator, and you know that a lot of South America, there's a little change going on now in Brazil, elsewhere, but they've been controlled by lefties doing business with China. And who's their hero? Fidel Castro. You want me to tell you what Fidel Castro did? Because I'm the one who was put in charge of having to reverse it. So I can tell you chapter and verse. Jimmy Carter, who, God bless him, he's so at the end of his life. And look, I'd take him back in a second over the traitor. Jimmy Carter was not that at all. Nobody has any right to say that. He served this country in the military, and he loved this country. He made judgmental mistakes, big ones. And a lot of it is, the silliness of the liberalism that he just didn't analyze, because it is a silly philosophy that is counterproductive with protecting people, or counterproductive with efficient operations of government or business. So 42,000 have come in already since that's 3,200 a day He was supposed to cut them off if there were 1,500 for 7 straight days. He's way beyond that now. Hasn't made a move to cutting it off. The compliant, crooked press hasn't squawked at all. They all knew he was lying when he said it. If he keeps up these numbers, this year will be a year of about 1.8 million, which will be a lot less than last year. But other than him, it'll be the worst year in the history of this country. So in other words, the only reductions are off the historic numbers that he created. No American president has come close to 1.8 million illegals. Not to mention the gotaways, not to mention ones we haven't seen, which could take you up to about 3 million. That's on top of 12 million here. So let's get it to 15. What the heck? Among friends, why not have 15 million murderers here? Or 15 million, we don't know who they are, but we've got to assume the worst, don't we? Particularly since they're running into parks and raping our women. Biden has the gall to say that he's the champion of national security. You know, this is exactly what they do. Do you realize that the whole campaign could be based on taking what they say and positing the opposite, because they say the opposite of the truth, because they are Marxists, they are Soviets, they are practicing Orwell. All Orwell did is take Soviet Russia, superimpose it on Britain, and show how Britain would run if they used Soviet principles. Well, we're running that way. President Biden declared himself a champion. Well, I never should imitate him because I make him sound like he's like normal. President Biden said, we're a champion of national sovereignty, which means sovereignty, because he probably saw it and he can't pronounce it. We're a champion of national sovereignty. And I have closed the border with a few exceptions, 3.2 million. But then I just granted amnesty for 500,000 illegal aliens if they get married to an American. We do anticipate that it will lead to phony marriages, but we Democrats don't care about marriage anymore. And then I'm going to unveil plans to quicken permanent residency for the other illegals who are here. I don't want them to leave because we need their... Wasn't supposed to say that. They're going to get very angry. I said, we have to have them for the vote. All proposals best. Of course, then he had to correct himself by saying, no, I mean by executive order. He hasn't passed shit. I think the rest of the world has to be saying, serious people in the rest of the world, looking at this guy, right? Particularly the stuff now that, they're making up, he doesn't know which direction to go in. I guess they must have knocked him down. Somebody must have, from the back, knocked him down in front of the Air Force Academy when he fell on his face in front of our cadets. What a scene for our cadets. Here's our commander-in-chief. Boom. Floppy. I don't know if you've ever noticed how he walked in. He actually went to the wrong. He must have been on something, or the brain cells stayed at home. Or when he walked into that, he walked past, walked back, walked past, walked back. Then he sat down. Then he stood too long. Then he sat down. Then he got up and he fell on his face. And the answer is there was a thing there that he tripped over, and nobody can find the thing there. That's like trying to sit down, and his wife had to stop his name, and then finally, after an extraordinarily embarrassing international demonstration of just how demented our American president was, he sat there, and had a zombie face on for a while, and that zombie face shows up a lot now. That's exactly why Obama took him off the stage. It wasn't that he wasn't clapping or responding. The same thing with the Juneteenth celebration, where they say, well, he wasn't dancing. He looked like a zombie. He looked like he was out of a horror movie. That's a sign of total deterioration of the brain. Now, they say, oh, it's Obama's fault. He shouldn't have done that. I don't know. Obama probably didn't know what the hell he was going to do. He might have stopped. He might have walked over and fallen into the. This is a guy who fell down at the Air Force Academy. This is a guy who falls down walking up the steps. I swear to God, I've never seen anybody falling down going up the steps. A lot of people fall down going down the steps, healthy people and unhealthy people. Up the steps? Now they have they got baby steps for him. I don't know what the hell they did. Did they lower the plane or? But he walks up like 4 steps, and that's a drama. That's a drama. I mean, him finding his way there is a drama. Now they surround him with all sorts of people to distract looking at his walk. One person being interviewed on it was a local. I was watching a local television the other night, and they went to people and they said, do you think the president, because of this dispute that they now say they're fixing do you think the president really has mental problems, or that it's generated by the press and the Republicans? And almost everybody said, "Oh my goodness, we've known that for years." Sure, you can't. And one of them says, "It isn't a matter of whether they help him. Just watch him walk." He said every time he walks, he looks like a man who belongs in a nursing home. That's true. He walks like a decrepit old man, which is what he is. Now, decrepit old men should be taken good care of, but they shouldn't have their finger on the button. They shouldn't be getting people killed in Ukraine for nothing. They shouldn't be getting people killed in Israel for nothing. And they shouldn't be getting people killed with fentanyl in the United States for something. His bribe from the Chinese government. Well, we had the Juneteenth celebration today. So I'm a little confused because we had that picture of him celebrating Juneteenth about a week ago where he didn't seem to be able to dance. But I never interpreted it as he couldn't dance. I interpreted it as he was catatonic, which is essentially what he was with all the washed up, perverted actors. Clooney, whose wife wants to put Netanyahu in jail. She's a real genius, huh? And Clooney's all upset. Well, I mean, Clooney is a great scholar of the Middle East. I mean, he's written any number of treatises on the Middle East. The Middle East and Me, my trip to Syria, my trip to Jordan. Pictures of me with at the. I'm sure it wouldn't be in any religious site because I'm sure he's a aggressive atheist. The wife, I think, probably is for sure. I mean, you or I would take a picture at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, or the place of the Crucifixion, or possibly the Golden Dome, or maybe the Wailing Wall. Who knows where they take pictures? They don't believe in God. Stick with me, and we'll do a really, really, because I'm working on it. Been working on a really good analysis on really synthesizing where this all comes from. I think I've been successful over the years in showing you the connections to Marxism, that all these separate threads have a common place. And all you have to do is read Marx, and very eerie feeling that you're reading about what's happening to you, almost in the order in which it's supposed to happen. All these fighting over children. I keep thinking the minute I heard them saying that, the children were going to be mutilated without telling the parents, I remember the tremendous amount of literature that exists from Marx to Engels to Stalin to Hitler to Mao. Children are the property of the state. Isn't that what the Democrats are telling you? Isn't that what McAuliffe told you in that very, very seminal moment when he said, what do parents know about education? What do parents know about education? Isn't that what they're telling you when they can mutilate your child, reorganize their sexual organs without telling you? They are telling you that your child is the property of the state. Like your child was in the Soviet Union, like it was in Hitler's Germany, like it has become in the fascist parts of America, where the Democrats rule. In my state of New York, in public schools, the children are the property of the state. The parents don't matter. They are a pain in the backside, or organized criminals, if you listen to the Attorney General, whose family has a vested financial interest in this that the press will not touch. So Juneteenth, I tell you, Juneteenth was supposed to be, and all these holidays were supposed to be, a source of unity. In 1905, W.E.B. Du Bois, who is one of the great writers on slavery, segregation, the effects of segregation, said and meant the following: the battle we wage is not for ourselves alone, but for all true Americans. They didn't wage a battle so that blacks that didn't merit it were chosen over Chinese who merited it, or Asians who merited it. They were seeking everybody gets a fair chance. Not everybody gets the same result. That's communism. They were not communists. Now what we have is a new separatism, a new racism. These people are quintessential racists who are completely contradicting the goals of the people who started the movement. Like, the battle we wage is not for ourselves alone, but for all true Americans, so that all can have equal chance, not equal result. You can't guarantee that without being grossly unfair to certain people. And then who decides the result is who becomes the dictator. There were a number of letters to the Washington Post, about this whole thing that Biden was really fine at the fundraiser and Obama made him look bad. Basically, every one of them says in a nicer way, bullshit. It looked like he was a total zombie. This one is kind of funny. On stage at a California fundraiser over the weekend, former President Barack Obama escorted President hand puppet Joe Biden off the stage, perhaps to get him some ice cream or a diaper change. Frail Joe is no gaffing matter. How could anyone with compassion for the elderly allow this to go on, let alone continue for another 4 years? It's obvious that Obama is Biden's puppet master. There's no doubt he's unfit to serve as president. It's about time Biden and his owner retire somewhere where the red fern grows. So, you got to be a dope not to see how infirm he is and what damage he does to the country. But then it's the group around him. You know, we constantly say he makes these awful decisions and it's because he's demented. But we also know that he doesn't make decisions. A directorate makes decisions, like in the French Revolution when it went insane. There's a directorate. I think we got a few members. I mean, it's obvious from the way he walked them out that the chairman of the board is Prince Barry. I mean, he looks like he's at least a titular head. Soros is the money man. I mean, Soros has destroyed so many cities in the name of trying to make us communists that it's tragic. But he's also the biggest funder to Biden, biggest funder to Obama, biggest funder to the Democratic Party, biggest funder to Black Lives Matter, biggest funder to the protests that have just taken place against Israel. Remember, he's Jewish, but he hates Israel. Hates them. Wants them destroyed. You know why. Now he wants to take over the second biggest radio network in the country. He wants to take it over. It's called Odyssey. It has Dana Loesch, Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, Glenn Beck, and Eric Erickson. I don't know how they're going to feel about working for Soros. When he took over the Hispanic station, several of their most important talent left, including Lourdes Ubieta, who has now started her own show, which is beating the hell out of them. Radio Mambi, which he took over, used to be hardcore anti-communist. He's turned it into hardcore communist. And he likes to say he's not a communist, but he supports all communist policies. So the Soros Fund owns 44% of this entity, which would give them effective control. The problem is that more than 25% is owned by foreign investors. And therefore, they need the permission of the Federal Communications Commission. And they only got a little time to go that it'll be Democrat-controlled. Now, he's the biggest source of money for the Democrat Party. And Democrats, of course, you routinely engage in bribery. So I would be surprised if he doesn't get it. But apparently there are a lot of steps to go. And in order to do it, they would have to skip those steps, which might mean it could be undone. So don't lose all hope. But right now, it looks like he's going to get the SEC to say, at a time in which we're really worried about foreign infiltration in the United States, they're going to take over the second biggest radio network. Foreigners are. And they're going to clearly promulgate communist doctrines. The Latino media takeover has really not turned out to be what they thought, because a lot of people didn't cooperate with the anti-American hater of American nationalism. Now we have a little dog here named Raleigh, Sir Walter Raleigh. So Walter, come here. Now Raleigh is a good boy, but some dogs are not, Raleigh, some dogs are not good boys. Here, Raleigh, this is for you. You want some? No? You don't want? Okay. All right. Here, come here, boy.
So hi.
Come here, say hi. Say, hey. Say hi, Raleigh. You're a good boy. We don't want you to get upset by this report. There's a dog that isn't such a good boy.
Oh, you couldn't see him? Here,
Oh.
you want to go on, Raleigh?
Does that want to go on?
Here,
You go on, Mr.
There he is.
Yeah.
There he is.
here, Mr. Raleigh.
No.
This is Raleigh. Isn't he a beautiful dog?
Oh, good boy, buddy.
Good boy, Raleigh. Good boy, Sir Walter. Okay. So I think we reported a couple of days ago that one of Biden's dogs, Commander, his latest dog, his latest dog has attacked 22 people. But a lot of the key video has been destroyed according to the Freedom of Information Act request. It no longer has video of the June 15, 2023 attack that forced the White House to suspend tours to mop up an agent's blood, one of the most severe incidents involving Commander. The little bit of information you get suggests that there were 22 bites, a number of them serious enough to draw blood, at least three serious enough to have to go to a hospital. And this was preceded by another dog before this who had a dozen or more bites of Secret Service agents. This is not a joke. And it's another example of two-tier justice, because if you have a dog and they bite 22 times, you're not going to have that dog anymore. Sorry. It also, I think, and let's get psychological as we conclude, which is, got to tell you something about the owners, doesn't it? Isn't this yet another indication that this is the most disgusting, perverted family in the White House? I mean, they're the most dangerous to the Secret Service that ever existed. They're also the most dangerous to average Americans with all the fentanyl deaths, huh? And boy, there'd be a couple 100,000 Ukrainians alive if this jackass hadn't committed a fraud and become president. Let's make sure it doesn't happen again. We'll be back at 8 o'clock tonight. We'll give you a little more on Willie and a lot more things that have to be covered. But God bless America.
Drawn to his feet was a catch which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people. And Willie Mays gave this crowd of 52,751 an unforgettable sight.